Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, so we did verse 10 and 11 last 2 weeks, and that was the journey that he wanted us to take from our sense organs. We cannot still hear you, Prabhakarji. So
Okay.
sorry. Oh, now we can. Yes, we can. Great. Welcome back.
Okay.
Welcome back. Okay. So did you have anything to say? No? Okay. All right. So coming back to this.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you say something?
No, I don't want to say anything.
Okay.
Just let us start.
Yeah. Okay. So 10 and 11 was the journey that he was telling us, that how from our sense organs, and then sense objects are subtler in their elemental form. We had a big discussion about all that, so I hope everybody's like okay with it. Sometimes there will be contradictory statements in Vedanta, but they have a reason. They want you to jog your thinking and all that, and try to understand what they're trying to say. So sense objects ke baad tha, mind is subtler and higher, and then it was intellect, and then it said total intellect, the Mahanatma, और उसके पीछे बोलते there is avyakta maya, and there are different names for it, Hiranyagarbha and all that. Hiranyagarbha was Mahanatma, sorry. The avyakta is more like Maya is a very correct this thing, or Prakriti also they call it. Prakriti, Maya, all these names are given to it. And that rests in Brahman. Okay, so that was a whole thing that we learned. And now, so basically, he had also said, let's do the verse and then we'll see what we are coming to. So it's verse 12 of Valli 3 of Kathopanishad. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gudotmana prakashate drishyate tvagrayaya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. Esha is this, sarveshu in all, bhuteshu in being, guda is hidden, atma we know what they're talking about, na prakashate, does not shine. Actually, what means it doesn't reveal itself or doesn't show. Drishyate is seen, tu is but, agra yaya, sharp, single pointed, that's what it means actually. Buddhaya, by intellect, sukshmaya. Sukshmaya means subtle intellect. Sukshma darshibhihi, by the seers of the subtle vision he's talking about. So we saw that I'll go to with some Tejomayananji what he was talking about, because he brought lots of points for this. We may not finish everything, but let's see how far we go. So he was talking about that in last 2 verses we learned this journey, and we also learned that the final goal was, or the pinnacle of that journey was, that Parama Purusha, right? The Brahman. Okay. Once you reach that, you don't fall back into samsara. Basically, you don't get affected by change while you are alive, and then you don't even need to come back, or you come back with your own knowledge as an avatar probably. So, but very interesting, he said, even though they keep talking about this chariot and journey and all that, he's saying, really speaking, you're not going anywhere. Okay, so he's saying it is not going, it is knowing. I thought that was such a nicely put, it's taking a journey within yourself. So it is actually knowing the infinite self. That is the journey. So you're not technically taking a car and going somewhere or something, even though they use the analogy of the chariot. Okay, and then another thing he reminded, that look, what they are talking about, this Parama Purusha, or the infinite self, is in your own heart only. That also remember it, and which is beyond Prakriti. So sometimes, when we say, oh, I can't get over all this anger and frustration and all, I am actually not bound by it. I just attach myself to it actually. In reality, because even the truth is that the Param Purusha is beyond that Prakriti. So that's another way to intellectually understand this, okay? So what this Param Purusha is like my own self, they call it with the capital S, right? Everybody knows that when they talk about self with the capital S, they're talking about that Brahman or consciousness, And this verse starts with this, Eshaha. So when it starts with this, what are they talking about? They're talking about that Param Purusha or that consciousness. So it's saying that Param Purusha exists in all of us. How does it exist? It's kind of hidden. Good, the word good comes in Bhagavad Gita a lot too. जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, हिंदी speaking people, गूढ़ रहस्य बोलते हैं ना, like a very as a secret or something. But here the secret is not कि किसी से छुपा के रखने वाला secret. उस sense में नहीं है ये secret. It is subtle. Not everybody comprehends it. उस sense में गूढ़ है ये. So he's saying that it exists in all being, it's hidden. Because it's hidden, it doesn't reveal to everybody. They call it the word prakashayate, means it doesn't, if you take literal meaning, it means it's not shining. So it's a contradiction. Hey, what do you mean by not shining? No, what it means is that people are not aware of it. And then we also talked that unless you read the Shastras or somebody tells you, you won't even know that there is something called Param Purusha that exists in our heart, right? Somebody has to point out, because we were talking about, with the 10th graders in Chinmaya Mission right now, we are at a stage where we are telling them about verse 11, 12 of chapter 2, where Krishna Bhagwan reminded Arjun, hey, we are eternal, So there is some entity in us which is forever. It never goes away, it has no beginning, no end. And I said, does any university or college tell you? I asked those kids, you are eternal. They're saying, no, auntie, they always tell us you cannot do this and you cannot do that. I said, you have to come to Chinmaya Mission for somebody to tell you, hey, you are eternal. All of a sudden, wow, I'm eternal, So it's like, that's what it is. That it is there in all of us, okay? But why it is like Gouda, and then, like what Tejomayananji said, whatever we studied so far, don't forget that, because this has come before also. And the word they used over here in this Upanishad was Duradrishtam, difficult to see, So why it is difficult to see? Because you need like a spiritual yoga to understand it. What is that spiritual yoga? That by the spiritual yoga, the wise people understand it, comprehend it, or it gets revealed to them. It's the yoga of meditation, you can call it. After learning everything, try to connect with it. So what Tejo Menanji said, it almost sounds like a contradiction, because it's saying, hey, this is what you need to get, but it doesn't get revealed. So no, but the truth is that it does not get revealed because we don't have a pure mind. So that's why we need to get the pure mind, take the clarity of vision. These are all the verses that have come before. So he's connecting to this verse, because somebody can have a pure mind but doesn't have a clarity of what consciousness is. Again, that person going to have a problem. So you have to understand intellectually, by studying the Shastras, engaging in satsang, learning from the higher, that okay, there is such entity, and you need a grace of Guru according to him. All three factors, when it come together, then it gets revealed to you. And then he gave a very beautiful example, ek drishtant diya unhone, which maybe we'll understand. It's saying it's like the sun. Okay, sun is there. This is hypothetical only. Everybody knows kind of what is sun. But suppose there is somebody who's sitting at some dark cave or something, not very dark, but a little bit lighted, maybe not too much. So, I don't see the sun. What are you talking about? I don't know what it is. And that person is saying, Arey Baba, in that light of that sun only you are doing everything. It does exist. Even if you may not physically see, but उसी के प्रकाश से तो तुम सब कुछ कर रहे हो. Same way this Atma is like that with the consciousness only we are doing everything. And why it is good and why it is hidden? So he said, and this is connecting to the Bhagavad Gita perfectly now. He's saying because your indriyas are all outward. You are constantly engaged, preoccupied with, all the 5 indriyas, seeing, tasting, hearing, touching, all those things. And you get bound and attached and things like that. And you likes, I want this, I don't want this, I go after this, or running away from that. You get so preoccupied with it that your attention goes away from that thing, and that's why it becomes like hidden from you. But the Viveki Purush, the word used over here is Dhira. Dhira is always used for a wise person. एक मीनिंग है धीरा का जिसमें बहुत धैर्य हो, जो और धैर्य चाहिए ना ये सब करने के लिए. अभी इवन जो हमने काम और क्रोध का वेग बोला, वो एकदम से तो नहीं आ जाएगा, उसमें भी धैर्य चाहिए. You can't get frustrated. Oh my God, I tried 10 times and it didn't work. No, try 11th time, 12th time, it will work. So dhairya. So dhira purusha is the one, to him this gets revealed. But ignorant person का क्या होता है कि the mind is busy with feeling, emotion, thoughts, and and then Tejamananji reminded us that whole time we keep using I do this, I do that, and we don't inquire what that I is. Find out what that real I is. And so he's talking about that real I, or that consciousness, you cannot see it as an object. That's another very powerful statement he made. But you have to know it as a subject, your own self. It's an inward journey and not something outside that you're going to understand or see it or something like that. So he said that even though the Upanishads say very clearly and all that, Shruti also says, Shruti means all these, Bhagavad Gita and all these things are called Shruti also. But people hear it and then they get passed on. Usko Shruti. Say that they very clearly say you are not the body and all that. But he's saying the Maya is so strong that in spite of hearing and from the saints and sages and reading and all that, हमारा पूरा attachment जाता नहीं है. Because the Maya is very strong. And he said in Bhagavad Gita also, there is a very famous verse, Mama Maya Duratya, means it is difficult to cross this Maya. Even Krishna Bhagavan admitted that. But he said that you can, by surrendering to him, you can go beyond it. So you have to surrender to the higher. Firstly, know who God is, surrender to him, and then you can. And then the 2 pointers that is given in this verse to get that, Param Purusha revealed to us is, Agraya Buddhi means single pointed. Single pointed Buddhi, not scattered everywhere in the world. The world, when you go, Buddhi gets scattered. So you gather it all together, single pointed. And Sukshma Buddhi, subtle intellect. He's saying that Sukshma Buddhi or subtle intellect means which is capable of turning inwards. Because he gave a very worldly example. He's saying कि अगर तुम्हारी सूक्ष्म बुद्धि है ना, तो तुम दूसरों में दोष नहीं देखोगे, अपने आप में देखोगे. पर हम लोग को मालूम है, हम लोग को दूसरे में कितना जल्दी दोष दिखाई देता है. लगता है मैं तो सही हूँ. क्रोध भी इसीलिए आता है ना. Why that person didn't do it, And then every time I'm right, I'm perfect, and the other person has a problem. So then you don't have a Sukshma Buddhi. Sukshma Buddhi is you examine yourself. You go inward, subjectively. Say what you can do. Don't worry about the rest of the world. So he's saying that's called a Sukshma Buddhi. And the other thing is that he said that, so Dhira Purusha is the one who does the practice of meditation, Adhyatma Yoga, withdraw the mind and another point he mentioned, Tejam Energy, about meditation is very important one. He's saying that if you don't know what the goal is in meditation, what you are doing, who is the meditator, what you are meditating upon, and you just jump into meditation, then you can just sit quietly. It will help. It will help the world, he said. He was joking. When you are sitting quietly, it will help the world. But you will not progress in it. Because all it means is you're sitting quietly, But it's very, very important. And now that whole chapter on meditation is coming, so it will teach us what to do. So another point he meant, Tejamanaji, he said, look, only Jivatma needs to meditate. Okay? The Mahanatma doesn't need it. and Paramatma definitely doesn't, So even though these senses and mind and intellect, they prosecute us and they have the problem, but they are the tools by which we meditate. So they are very important assets. And then we saw that how we have to tune them. That's the whole idea. So he's saying that even superficially, to understand, what is this true self? What is the Shuddhatma, Paramatma, Parampur, anything you want to say, Brahman, that is the very most important thing, to learn to meditate, is to actually learn to know what it is first. Okay? And then slowly, when you're more identified with the body, mind, intellect, then you will withdraw from the objects, withdraw from your attachments and conditioning, they call it in English, and then you will turn more and more attention to the self, and then it will reveal itself. So that's what this verse is about. Any question, comment? Anybody wants to add anything? Okay, let's see how much time is it. Yeah, we have 10 minutes, we can read. Shireen, you want to read?
This Atman is hidden in all beings and does not shine forth, but is seen by subtle seers through their sharp and subtle intellect. Self-realization, according to Vedanta, is not a mere experiencing of the true nature of a divinity alone. To rediscover ourselves to be none other than God is not in itself a full realization accepted by the Shastras. No Mahatma's work is ended unless he could feel a perfect oneness with all in his own self. If he were to realize himself to be God and all others as worm-men, his realization is faulty and absurd. The pot's space in getting rid of its false ideas of identity with the pot shall realize at once its oneness with the entire universal space. Similarly, when a seeker, through patient and constant practices, rids himself of his ego and the ego-bound identification with his body, mind, and intellect, he will realize that the sum total whole is truth alone, which I am.
So here he's telling another very important point, that he's talking about seer subtle through it is like oneness with the universe is also a very important factor. Okay, I realize that I am that Brahman, but that Brahma is the same in everyone. It's like that space. That is another very factor, that if you just know that I'm Brahman, that's only part of the thing he's saying.
Yeah.
So we all know, we have discussed this point many times, right? Yeah.
In short, Pratyagatma, Brahma Maikya, Jnanam.
So it says Pratyagatma Brahma Aikyam Jnanam, and then it tells in English what it means. Yeah.
The knowledge of the oneness of the innermost self with the total self is the process of the path of knowledge. This is amply made self-evident in this mantra. In the previous mantra, we had a discussion of the world of sense organs, the world of the sense objects, the world of the mind, the intellect, the total mind, and of the unmanifest. And before the mantra concluded its declarations, it also indicated the supreme factor, the Purusha. In this mantra, which immediately follows the previous one, we have the discussion of the secret self that lies concealed in all beings. The idea implied therein is obviously the oneness of the inner individual self and the outer total self.
So again, the same point.
Yes,
Yeah.
Hidden in all being. Atma, the very self of the individual, can never be hidden from us. And yet, under the veil of ignorance and the thick walls of negativities and delusion, the self seems to be hidden from our egocentric instruments of cognitions, feelings, and understandings, such as the sense organs, the mind, and the intellect. The self is only as much hidden from us because of our delusions and the delusion-created ego, as the rope is hidden from us because of our mental delusions and the delusion-created serpent.
So everybody remembered that rope and the
Rope
snake,
and
that there is a rope lying and I think there is a snake. So then if I see the snake, I won't see the rope. And that's what we do in the world. We are constantly seeing, all these things. But we forgot to see that there is a substratum, there is a Brahman, because of which everything is there.
Just as only those who can approach the serpent in the dark with a peaceful mind in the spirit of inquiry and self-discovery can rediscover the road, so too only a seeker of truth, whose mind has calmed down from its agitations for sense indulgences, and who therefore can approach the great mission of life in a spirit of inquiry and self-discovery, can come to discover the Atma Tattva, the source of all life, as himself.
So he's just telling you that in spite of, okay, I am seeing the snake. But if I keep dwelling on that snake only, I will never see the rope. But, if some guru comes and says, or some wise person says, what you are seeing is actually not the snake. It is the rope. And I cannot believe it. I calm my mind. I go there. I approach it. I put the flashlight and say, oh, yeah, it is a rope. But if I can't bring myself to do that, then I'll be constantly screaming that, no, there's a snake and it's going to bite me and it's poisonous. See how this example is such a beautiful one, that when it's at sharp, you need, sharp and concentrated mind. Then only you will be able to get. And in the worldly thing also, if you want to be successful, isn't that those two things important? Like you have to concentrate on something if I want to get it successful. And I have to have a sukshma drishti. I got to see all the aspects of that thing very thoroughly. Then only I will be successful. The same thing applies here.
Inquiry. Yeah.
So, anybody wants to discuss anything about these points? Any wisdom,
calm. The mind has to be calm, then only you can discover.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And
I just wanted to find out one thing. When you said inner self and the total self, what would be the difference between the two?
So when we were when we did those verses, one is like intellect and total intellect, जो हम लोग God principle बोलते हैं उसको.
Macro.
Yeah, like a micro and macro. So like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they come under that total intellect. Uske piche, there is a unmanifest is there, they call it, because they are also manifested. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh are also manifested. Uske piche, before they manifest, there is something called unmanifest form. And that we discussed seed and tree. That example we gave. So it is in seed form. So that is more subtler. But that seed rests in Brahman, that consciousness. Without the consciousness, it cannot survive. That is the whole journey that we took. That's what it is. Well, were you there in the previous classes?
No, I don't.
So maybe we have on our, you can maybe hear, because we did a lot of discussion on that, what it means. I don't know if I was able to clear your question, but that, that's how the Vedanta takes to more and more subtlety.
Thanks.
Prabhakarji, you had something? You had started saying something?
No, I just wanted to get a clarification here. When we talk about this self and the consciousness, is that self and consciousness is the same as the reflected consciousness?
No.
Is there any difference between the self and the reflected consciousness?
Yeah, it's totally different, because that reflected consciousness is when all that what you call total Atma, Mahan Atma starts. That's a reflected one. The real, it's like
Okay.
how do I think that the original is that consciousness. Everything
Correct.
else in the world is reflected. So they have
Right.
when what he's talking about here is our final journey is that the real consciousness, not the
That
reflected
what
one.
we have.
Yeah, we all have that real one, but in it reflects in the mind. That's how we become conscious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we all have the consciousness, but it reflects in the mind to illumine the thoughts and etc.
Yes.
Right? So what we are seeking is not the reflected consciousness. It is that consciousness which is identified with Brahma, which is same as Brahma.
Which is same as Brahma. That's what we are seeking. True.
Okay.
And
Thank
it also said that suppose if we are having difficulty, then we can pray to the total intellect, because total intellect is, the difference is like a wave and the ocean.
Okay.
H2O is same, okay, in both of them, but power of ocean is much bigger.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And
Okay.
all the, karma and everything comes under their territory. So if I'm having
Okay.
difficulty to reach, I can definitely do the prayer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
And say, give me that buddhi, though I understand that, final consciousness.
Okay. That total intellect is the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara.
Yeah, you can call it, and those are manifested reality.
Manifested forms. Okay.
It's still subtle, because I cannot, my own intellect is also subtle. I cannot catch my own intellect also, right?
Correct.
Sense
Yes.
organs are much easier to comprehend. Moment we go to the mind, again it becomes subtler, and the buddhi is even subtler, and the total atma is even subtler than that. हमने उसको form वगैरह दे दिया है, that's fine.
Right.
But to reach it is not that easy. But it's better, it's easier than the Param Purusha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Total intellect is Hiranyagarbha. That's
Hiranyagarbha,
what-
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, these are like a kind of difficult concept, but if you hear it enough time, catch it from all angles, then it slowly sinks in. Yeah, it takes a little time. Any other question, point? Okay, so I'll close the class here, and then we can go for some time, 15 minutes, discuss anything else. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhavet. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.